2020, you're the gamer. What is up, guys? Welcome to another video, and today we're back with a racing game of the decade list. I'm a little bit late to the party, but I was resting. My batteries, they've been recharged like a Duracell bunny. I literally went through every single racing game that I'd released in the last 10 years. I wrote them all down, and I kind of just stared at the list and went, I'd say about 15 to 30 minutes, and then I kind of wrote my list. But with that being said, I think it's actually time we go and get in the list. There's going to be a few ones in here that actually surprises you guys, and we're going to start off at number 5, but that's before a quick ad from our sponsor. It's me. Please subscribe. Pretty please subscribe with the bell. I've been gone for like 4 days, so YouTube's gonna like spank me. It's gonna be like, you aren't allowed to get any views. So yeah, if you could do that, that'd be great. Number 5. So number 5 could have been a few things. I was thinking about maybe putting Hot Pursuit 2010 in there. It's not Hot Pursuit 2010. I was thinking about maybe putting a Gran Turismo game in there or Drive Club, but it was quite obvious after a little bit of thinking it had to be this game. Number 5 in my top 5 list is Need for Speed World. The last remains of the original golden era of black box, like the customization from those games, the world from Most Wanted and Carbon, obviously being Rockport and whatnot. You know, I was there when it closed. I made a video actually when it closed. Made a video when the server shut down. Sad times, very sad times. But it's not dead. That's the thing. It's been 10 years. It was approaching 10 years. And the game's still being played by many other people on Soapbox Racing World, I think is what it's called. And I'm actually going to get back into it. I'm going to get back into Need for Speed World because it's one of those games, it died prematurely. It wasn't up for that long and it died. Like, I want to get back into it. People are now modding actual new cars that have never been in Need for Speed World into it. So I think it's just a really exciting prospect at the moment. I didn't play enough World while it was alive, and that's one of my like bigger regrets, not spending enough time in that game, because I didn't have a PC that could run it at the time. Like, I only had a little laptop when the game came out. But that's one of my bigger regrets. If it was on console, I 100% would have put a bit more time into it. But it had to go at number 5. It's the last remains of Black Box. The physics and the way the game played were fantastic. Obviously, when the game came out, it had a bunch of, microtransaction problems, kind of ahead of its time, really. But nowadays, when you're playing it on Soapbox World and whatnot, like, it's not, there's none of those problems. And from that perspective, I'm thinking about it from this perspective. It's got to be number 5. It's better than any modern Need for Speed game I've ever played, and that's without a doubt. Number 4 is gonna be one that really shocks a few of you guys. It's actually the only sim racer in this list, which I'm not sure if many people on the channel even play sim races. But number 4 is Assetto Corsa. So it wasn't until like I actually sat down and looked at my Steam library and saw how much time I'd put into this game, and it was around 7 days. Now for me, I hardly play with my wheel because my desk, it's really like, you can see the thing shaking as I'm moving the desk here. Really flimsy. That's never changed no matter what house I've been in over the course of the past 10 years. I've been in about 3 or 4 different houses. It's just been a really complicated problem and issue to get my wheel set up. So that says a lot, the fact I put 7 days into Assetto Corsa. The mods, the way the game feels on a wheel, it's without a doubt the best game I have ever played on a wheel. The multiplayer, the robust DLC packs and the cars that have been released, but the mods for me, the one thing which make this the best sim racer I have ever played. If you've never played Assetto Corsa, you have a PC and you have a wheel, you are doing yourself a disservice. Go and download it. That's all I have to say. You can get it cheap on Steam, even cheaper for a CD key, but to be honest, I would support the developers because this is one of the best sim races I've ever played. As far as making a game feel like real life, I've never played R-Factor or anything across those lines. This is the closest I've ever been. Closer than Gran Turismo, closer than Forza. Like, I've not played many of the extreme sim races, but Assetto Corsa is up there as the one that is the most realistic, and yeah, without a doubt, one of the reasons why I actually know how to skid in real life, weirdly enough. I made a few videos back on Assetto Corsa back in the day, so if you do want to check them out, I'll have a bunch of videos about the games that are in the top 5 list down in the description, so you can go ahead and check that out if you want to. But with that being said, let's go ahead and go into number 3. And this is where things kind of started to get a little bit more obvious to me. Number 4 and 5 were quite hard to pick, but as soon as we got into the top 3, I kind of knew which games these were going to be. And number 3 is Forza Horizon 1. Without a doubt, these top 3 games now, they're not just games of the decade for me, they're the racing games of all time for me. These next 3 games are going to be games that are up there with Most Wanted 2005, Need for Speed Carbon, like ahead of its time, breaking boundaries, and I genuinely believe all this. Forza Horizon 1, without a doubt, was the best racing game on Xbox 360. Period. The story is still something which the Horizon series has failed to kind of compete with, you know, up until this point. I don't think they've necessarily been trying to do that, but the atmosphere and stuff, I don't think I don't think any Horizon game since has even come close to the atmosphere of Forza Horizon 1. Just that trailer, I can't play the music, otherwise it will just give me a copyright strike. If you hear me now, show me insane. Put your fucking light up. God, mate. Yeah, absolute vibe. I actually didn't play Horizon 1 until 2014, so that was a few years after it came out. But oh my god, I'd love to know the amount of game time I've had in that game. Like, one of the best Horizon games, 100% one of the best games of the decade, one of my favorite games of all time. I've got nothing but good things to say about Forza Horizon 1. I'd argue the physics are probably the best in the series, period. Back when it was on the old engine, I think the old engine is actually better than the new one. There's just a whole bunch of things that are good about this game, not to mention the soundtrack and the car list and, you know, the progression and all that kind of stuff. So many things that were great with Horizon 1. Again, if you haven't played it, it's backwards compatible on an Xbox One. Pick it up, you can get it for cheap in, you know, secondhand stores. Number 2, again, another one which it was obvious for me, really. Number 2 and number 1, you could probably reverse them and I would be happy, and I can completely understand why you'd have one over the other. One of them is a bit more for petrolheads and one of them is a bit more for gamers. That's kind of how I see it, to be honest. One is a bit more for the appreciation and the love of cars, as where the other one is more gameplay elements and grinding and, you know, it's more of an actual game, and that's the difference between 2 and 1 in my opinion. At number 2 is none other, The Crew 1. Fucking hell, it was so hard to pick either number 1 or number 2 for this game. Like, The Crew 1 for me, without a doubt, you know, one of the best. If you're looking for just a robust game, if you're not that much of a petrol head, you're more of a gamer, you're going to find a lot more to like about The Crew 1. It's an MMORPG, so you're going to have so much progression. There has an actual story in this game, which was shit, but it was lovingly shit. Reminded me of retro Fast and Furious. You know, they had the classic, you know, street spec, circuit spec, perf spec, raid spec, off-road spec. You know, back before they went into boats and planes, I preferred how it was with the car layout. Not to mention, every single car had multiple specs, and there was a bunch of cars, as well as customization for the first time in this console generation. We hadn't seen customization, you know, before The Crew 1 in this console generation quite like it, like body kits, etc. You know, Horizon wasn't really doing that, not at least to the extent The Crew 1 was doing it to. Robust PvP on launch, let's not forget about robust PvP on launch, the amount of betas they did, all of that. Honestly, for me, The Crew 1 was a highlight in this decade, this generation. I know it was on 360 and I said Horizon 1 was the best game of the 360, but you know what I mean. This game was made for next gen, being the PS4, Xbox One and PC. For me, without a doubt, better than The Crew 2. The Crew 2's only gone backwards in my opinion. One of the best racing games in the generation, and even though it's number 2 in this list, it could easily be number 1 on a different day. It's one of those things. I've completely forgot to talk about the faction missions and all the route creator and the summit. Oh, I forgot to talk about the fucking summit. The thing which they then made a whole game about in the next follow. Absolutely ridiculous. The whole of the USA is a map. I could go on for days about The Crew 1. It definitely had problems. The physics weren't that great, especially before the wild run. But, you know, without a doubt, one of the games I had the most fun with. And that leads me up to number 1. Now, I did mention at the start of this video, I do have a few honorable mentions. One of those being Need for Speed 2015. Nowhere near, not even close to being top 5 as a best game. Every single game in this list, I'm not looking at it as you know, for what it's done for the community or anything across those lines. I'm looking at them as games. Need for Speed 2015 was awfully buggy, as same as every other Need for Speed Ghost game, but it was what it stood for me that deserves an honorable mention. The turn of a change in direction for Ghost, it was one of the games I had the most fun with. A post-launch DLC plan that was phenomenal. All I've got to say is, you know, it had problems, but 2015 for me was again a highlight of not only my YouTube career, but also Need for Speed and where it's come, and having fun with a Need for Speed game. Yeah, 2015 for me, I think, is actually, out of all the Ghost games, is the one that I had the most fun with. So 2015 has to have a honorable mention. Gran Turismo 5/6. I played a lot of that back when it came out because I was mainly on PS3 back then. I haven't played enough of GT Sport to say and put it in this list, but I want to put GT5 and GT6 in here because, again, absolute phenomenal games. And my last two honorable mentions before we go into number one, and I think these are going to shock a lot of people. Hop Shoot 2010. This would have been number 5, give or take, but World, when I thought about it in perspective, I had Hop Shoot 2010 at number 5, and I just thought, if someone gave me Hop Shoot 2010 or Need for Speed World to play for the rest of my life, I'm always going to pick World. I'm never going to pick 2010 over World, just because there's more to do, there's more, like, everything about World is just better. So for that reason alone, that's why that's in number 5, but Hop Shoot 2010, let's not get it twisted, the best Need for Speed game in the main franchise in the last decade. Even better than Need for Speed Heat, which gets an honorable mention. It's one step forward, one step back. I can't give my Need for Speed Heat any spot in my top 5. The game's way too buggy, it's missing way too many features, it still hasn't got that many new things. If you look at Need for Speed Heat and then look at 2015 and look at Payback, tell me how many new things it has. You know, it's definitely a step in the right direction, but at this point they've been taking so many baby steps. It can't be. It's not on the same level as Need for Speed World to me. If I think about it logically, it's not on the same level as the Crew 1. The Crew 1 had faction missions, PvP, Summit, like, you list off the things the Crew 1 had compared to Heat, it honestly completely trumps it in every way. So although it's a decent game, not my racing game of the decade, not even close. But I need to put it in there because it's definitely a good game, and it's definitely, you know, one that I enjoyed as much, you know, as Drive Club, as Gran Turismo, as Hop Shoot 2010. I've enjoyed it as much as Hop Shoot 2010, but at the moment, in the game's current state, as we are going into 2020, there's just not enough content. There's really not enough content. People are finishing the game, are getting bored of the game. That is why it's in my honorable mentions. And number 1, this is going to get so many people angry. Just remember that number 1 and number 2, they're literally like that. Number 1 in my racing game of the decade list is no other than Forza Horizon 4. I can't believe I'm saying this, if you want me to be honest. If we rewind back to the back of, you know, the start of this console generation, I thought Horizon needed so much to get back to where it needed to be from Horizon 1. Forza Horizon 4 is a testament to how good racing games can be. For me, in terms of golden era age racing games, Horizon 4 and the Crew 1, bang at the top. The constant support of over 100 cars in the past year. You know, what they've done with PvP and sorting that out. The banning of cars in PvP. The new modes, Battle Royale, like, the list goes on and on and on. The monthly streams, there's the Lego expansion. Like, I could go on for days about how many things they've done in this game. Whether you like it or not, the attention to detail, for me, from a petrolhead's perspective in this game, it's unlike any other. And that's what I think mainly will depend on what you pick for 1 or 2. If you're more of a gamer, I think you'll have more of an appreciation for the Crew 1, if you're more of a petrolhead, you'll have more an appreciation for Horizon 4. Horizon 4 doesn't have a summit. It doesn't have, you know, faction missions. It doesn't have a huge open world, but what it does have, it has realistic and, you know, true to life Britain, which for me is crazy because I live here. A seasonal mode which genuinely does change the way you play. Like, if you're racing, the lines you'll take in winter compared to summer are completely different, and if you play games to drive cars, that's huge. Like, if you're playing a game in winter, you then go into summer and you have to take different lines, like, that's huge. That's the completely different thing. You play the game completely differently. The unlimited amount of performance customization, as well as some body kits for cars here and there, the huge car list, the constant updates of things to do on a week-by-week basis. Horizon 4 is the ultimate live service racing game, period. If you haven't played any of these 5 games, and, like, you need to play these 5 games. Like, these games are must-play games from this decade. I honestly don't think there's anything else I could do with that list to make it any more suited. Horizon 4 and the Crew 1, I just want to say they're tied, but I can't do that because that's cheating. I've got to say Horizon 4 is up there just for the amount of support the game's got, and for me, from a petrolhead's perspective, I'm a petrolhead at heart. Yeah, it just gets it. without a doubt. I look forward to the future of Horizon 4 because it's not done yet. They're still getting more updates. They've even gone out and said on their social medias they're going to be doing more. And looking in the new year, this is a game that I want to cover more alongside all the Need for Speed stuff I will be doing. And I want to do some more World as well. There's a lot of games here in this list that even though they're almost 10 years old, are still being supported in some way or some form. And it's something that I want to, you know, cover on the channel going forward. And that's my racing games of the decade. Do you agree with my list? I'm going to leave a poll. I think it's up here. Let me know if you agree with it. I've got a feeling I'm going to get a lot of no's. If not, literally post your racing games of the decade in a top 5, the same as I have in here in the comment section, and I'll have a look down and see what you guys are saying. But that's been it from me today. If you guys enjoyed, if you did, hit the like, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. You guys have been awesome. Stay safe and peace.